Hello everyone, we are about to experience one of the most important and life-changing transits this year when Jupiter, Guru, goes retrograde back into Capricorn again where Shani is sitting for the very last Jupiter-Shani conjunction. The last actually until 2039. So from September the 15th to November the 20th, be prepared to shift your position in a big way, as I'm going to show you on the video. And if you're new to my channel, sub below. If the video is good for you, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. Key dates, everybody, of this very essential 8-week transit that's going to turn everybody's life around. Your direction will shift, I promise you. Why? Because when Jupiter goes retrograde into Capricorn again, he's got a mission to complete, as I will show you. Jupiter goes direct, though, on the 19th of October, a very important turning point. And he finally leaves Capricorn and enters Aquarius on November the 21st. September the 15th, 2021, then Jupiter is retrograding into Capricorn again. He will only get to 28 degrees, makes no difference. He's in the sign with Saturn again in a Nich Bang Raj Yoga, brought out of debilitation. The purpose of the Jupiter-Shani conjunction has not yet been completed. You should know, everyone, that it began in April 2020, coming to a very close conjunction again in December 2020, but only now, as Jupiter has come back from Aquarius into Capricorn, retrograde, twice as powerful, will he give you the fruits. And what are the fruits of the Jupiter-Shani conjunction? The fruits of Jupiter-Shani are a new way of life, a new path in society for everybody. It's a complete new cycle where the last 20 years that began at the last conjunction, 2000, is coming to an end. It's leaving the past behind in a big way. But to understand this, you have to understand really what these cycles of Jupiter-Saturn are about. Let me briefly explain this so you will fully understand the great momentum of this conjunction in your life. It's important, everyone, because the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is known as the timekeeper. It's known as this in almost every system of astrology. When Jupiter-Saturn come together, they mark a particular passage of time, a very minute, almost grain of sand passage in the actual universal time system of yugas. Some of you may have heard of these yugas, everyone. The 4 yugas, the cycles of time, starting from Satya purity and going down to the most degenerate age, which we are currently in, known as Kali Yuga. They are continually recycling in this material manifestation. Huge amounts of time, which is hard to even conceive of. We are currently in the Kali Yuga, as many of you may know, which began 5,000 years ago. This Yuga continues for 350,000 human years more. It seems a great period of time, but actually, in the great cycle of the 4 Yugas and many of those cycles, it's a minute amount of time. In every Kali, human society basically implodes on itself. There is destruction of the planet and of society, whereby human life is decreased to a very small amount, actually to 1 cycle of Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Basically, humans only live for 20 years at the end of this yuga. But don't fear, because we are right now in a very small 10,000 year cycle, only 10,000 into 350,000, of course, where we are actually getting enlightenment and purity and knowledge. So make the most of it. In this period, we have a human lifespan of maximum 6 conjunctions of Jupiter-Saturn. That is a maximum human life of 120 years. This is why the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is so important. It marks a particular juncture in our 120-year lifespan. Of course, many of us do not get to 120 years, but still, it's all about measuring time in this yuga. So in all of these yugas, time is divided down into thousands of years. 180 years, a much smaller period. 60, a very minute period. And then the smallest grain of sand, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. When these time junctures come, things shift of their own accord, and we have to shift with them. What this means for all of us is that every time Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, this marks a shift in society, like a train is switching onto a new track, and we actually shift our lives accordingly we mightn't even think about it, but that's what we will do. So the last Jupiter Saturn conjunction, everybody, was in 2000. Before that, 1981. If you are old enough to see, you will know for sure that what began in 2000 in your life is going to shift away now. It's going to be a new beginning for you. Now, don't worry, if you got married in the year 2000, it doesn't mean you're going to get divorced, but it does mean that something major changes, that you have to change lifestyle with your spouse. It's a new beginning, Jupiter Saturn conjunction, and it can be very helpful. The issue is when we can't leave the past behind, and we literally get left behind. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, everybody, then in the next 8 weeks is going to finalize so much in everybody's lives. It won't be easy because during this time, Mercury, Mars and the Sun are in a big, huge bust-up, combustion basically. Check the link below to find the details. Mars in Virgo video. And also Mercury is retrograde. So there's a lot of tension, confusion and even conflict going on. But nonetheless, Jupiter Saturn has got a plan for everybody. The track has switched now and we have to move along with this. So don't forget to read from your Vedic moon sign and ascendant. Let's go. So Aries moon and Aries Lagna both. Now Jupiter is a difficult planet for you, strangely enough. Not always easy because he is your 9th lord, representing past life karmas but also good fortune and dharma, but also the 12th house of loss. This Jupiter-Shani conjunction going into your 10th house is the final countdown to the rearrangement of your status in life. 10th house is more than just your career. It's how the world see you, what you are doing in the world, what meaningful job, role you take. It mightn't even be paid employment, but everybody has a role in the world. And in the next 20 years, starting from now, that is going to be turned around. It's already started, hasn't it? With Shani in this house for quite some time. There's been many disappointments, many difficulties in your career, in your job. And Jupiter has already shown you that you need to make a dramatic change last year. But only now, when he comes retrograde back from your 11th house in the same sign as Shani, will you realize there is no choice. You have to move on. Circumstances probably push you out of the door. Some of you, there can be job loss, change of career, unavoidable circumstances. Some of you just simply have had enough and have to let go of the past completely. Jupiter always represents some loss for you, some willing surrender. Some of you may even be quitting job completely, taking retirement, either voluntary or forced to. But it's all about a new role opening up for you. Forget the past, Aries. It's about the future. Very many times this will be in foreign land because Jupiter is your 9th and 12th lord. Many of you will be making relocation at this time or planning for it. You will know there is no place for you where you are currently. So even if you stay in your same job after this 8-week period, you know it's got to be in a completely different, transformed capacity. Now, from this position, Jupiter helps you enormously. It helps you to stabilize your finances now. You put your books in order. You feel more secure by taking this direct action. So don't fear. It's going to stabilize long-term finances. Jupiter, Saturn, 10th house, even though it may be that you have to start from the beginning, as I say, in a new area. Jupiter aspecting 4th house. You will finally make a great change or plan for it now in your domestic family situations. Relations with your family improve, with your mother improves, or maybe her health has been under some cloud. That will improve also. And Jupiter aspecting the 6th house, though, means that you really do have to cut your ties, cut the debts, cut all the dead loss from under you now. Some of you will have court cases, litigation, but they will be favorable for you to deal with these ongoing factors. Don't forget that Virgo is full now with the Sun Mercury, Mars, check the video link below. Mars in Virgo. It's a conflicting time for you, Aries, but these malefics in your 6th house are going to help you also. You get on top of all these enemy situations, and there are many of them. So health issues are definitely going to have to be sorted now, and you will get direct help to be able to do this. Taurus, Moon and Lagna. Jupiter is a difficult planet for you because he rules your 11th house of problems, network circles, but also punishments, difficulties with income, etc., and your 8th house of change and sudden transformation. And he's gone to now finally conjunct with your Yoga Karaka planet Shani in the 9th house of your chart. Shani has been active here since 2020. He's been changing completely your belief system. You don't have the same philosophy as you did 2 or 3 years ago. Your politics even have changed. Your whole view of the world is transformed. You are looking for a higher belief system. You are seeking even a very special guru. Some of you may even have found this guru by this time. Jupiter coming backwards into your 9th house from your 10th house shows it's time to make a commitment, Taurus. It's time to commit to this new path, whether it's political, religious, whatever it is. Studying, many of you, higher education. Something has gripped you, something you are passionate about. And you have to go with this, giving it your whole heart. You have to show outward commitment to your inner beliefs, and that will lay the ground for a whole new lifestyle during the next 20 years. Now, because this takes place in the house of foreign land, for some of you, it will mean relocation. But that's not the main thing here. The main thing is that you are taking up different philosophies, different systems of belief. You are educating yourself and finding truth, finally, which satisfies you. Because Jupiter is trining here, 5th aspect to your house of self. This will also help you get on top of long-lasting health issues. Jupiter aspect to the 1st and 5th house will aid you in these long-term health problems now. You will find new advice, new resolution, and you will actually feel far more confident than you have for some time. What is the Jupiter Shani transit asking though? What does it want you to do for the next 20 years of your life? This is a house of father advisor. Jupiter Saturn wants you to advise others. Jupiter Saturn's going to put you in a career, job situation, life situation where you give your wisdom to others, because it is aspecting the 3rd house of communication. It may be publishing, writing, internet, some form of large-scale communication is going to cause you to have a whole new lifestyle that will transform your everyday world from now on. For some of you, this will mean children coming into your life. Jupiter's aspect onto the 5th house. Problems with your children, having children, conceiving children will vanish now. Yes, there's still problems because, as I say, Mercury is your 5th house lord. Retrograde, check the video coming up. There will be delays, there will be problems, but in this 8-week period, finally, you will find resolution to issues with children. Now, Jupiter represents education, and in the house of education, 9th house, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction means that many students will be benefited by this transit. In fact, everybody who commits themselves to any course of learning, including skill-based, any new skill learning started in this autumn period will be enormously beneficial for you long term. For Gemini Moon and Gemini Lagna both. Now Jupiter is entering back into your 8th house where Shani is already there. Can I just make a mention that if you are Gemini Moon, you are currently in Ashtam Shani. It's a tricky transit. Check out a video on my channel. Any question answered. Number 6, I've actually had a question on Ashtam Shani, and Gemini Moon people may want to check that. But the good news is that as Jupiter enters together with Shani in your 8th house, he provides some relief, particularly for Gemini Moon. But for both Ascendant and Moon, it means that partners, helpmates, business partners are going to help you now. You need to depend on other people during this 8 weeks. What I mean by that is you need to listen to other people more. Listen to their advice. They have good advice for you now because you're struggling financially. You're struggling in your employment, and savings, financial factors are all in disarray. You need the advice. You need the help of significant others. So what this Jupiter Shani means, this conjunction for all of you, Gemini Moon and Lagna, is that you definitely have to leave the past behind, because the 8th house is about not just leaving it behind, but completely transforming it. Your employment, your source of income, family affairs, etc. have been traumatically impacted during the last year or so, and right now you need to draw a big line under these uncontrollable and unsolvable situations. Many of you have to start a whole new line of employment. Many of you even have to start a new business. What you should know is that what you start now, what you think about, what you plan now is going to be financially successful for the next 20 years. You mightn't take the actual plunge right now, but you're putting the wheels in motion. You know that you can't go on as you are. So a dramatic transformation in your working life, employment, and your business life has to happen. Cut your losses, Gemini. There are many losses, right? And you need to cut them. You need to completely transform savings, investments, business, wills, legacies, which are ongoing factors, are going to come to a dramatic conclusion in the next 8 weeks. And for some of you, it won't be so wonderful at all, because you may have been expecting for more than is actually possible coming to you. So legacies may let you down. Investments need to be cut. It's a really big financial transformation. But what is the good news? The good news is that Jupiter is aspecting the 4th house of your chart now. Your health has been going through a very difficult time. Jupiter's aspect here is going to show you light of day with a long-term chronic health problem. You're going to get the absolute perfect advice. You're going to get a complete new insight into long-term health issues during these next 8 weeks, and it's going to be something which you should take seriously. It's going to help you tremendously. So for all Gemini, this Jupiter Shani conjunction in your 8th house is not an easy transformation. It's the moment of truth, the next 8 weeks, when you have to cut certain family ties, thinking of changing a whole domestic situation, maybe moving abroad, some of you, because Jupiter aspects also 12th house. Jupiter in the 8th house, again close to Shani, shows that relationships are going to transform as well. In the next 8 weeks, information from your spouse, talking to your spouse, opens up a real line of communication. You now know, is it going to work or not? It becomes perfectly clear. There's no going back after these next 8 weeks. Maybe also sudden revelation with a really close friend or a business partner, but somebody close to you, important to you, vital in your life, is going to have a very serious conversation with you, from which everything will definitely change in the future. So it's a complete time of transformation. Take the reins, Gemini. Have courage. A whole new beginning awaits. For Cancer Moon and Cancer Lagna, both Jupiter going back into the 7th house of your chart, where Shani has been for quite some time, it's time to finally reassess relationships, business partnerships, even close friendships. All the significant other people in your life are going to put a lot of pressure on you now, but it's good pressure, because you need to consider what is working, what is not, relationship wise, because Jupiter is your 6th house lord. Litigation, challenges, debt, etc. Big decisions have to be made in all forms of partnership. For some of you, Cancer, Lagna and Moon, a relationship is coming to a final conclusion, because Jupiter is the 6th house lord of divorce. But it will come to a good conclusion for you if that is the case. Now, there will still be many challenges, because your 3rd house of challenge is full of difficult considerations now. The Sun, Mercury, as I've said in here with Mars, it's a challenging situation. But the good news is that Jupiter aspecting your ascendant, all of the challenges, all of the arguments, contention, in the end, you come out on top of these. So Jupiter with Saturn makes a final decision also about business affairs. Some of you have to scrap a business plan, have to leave a business partnership. But again, new opportunities come to you at this time. You see, Jupiter has a fifth aspect onto the 11th house of gain. New business partnerships formed at this time will have long-term good fortune for you. And because Jupiter aspects the first house of the chart, you will feel fully engaged in these. So it's a restructure of your business situation as well. For many of you, Jupiter's fifth aspect on the 11th house will bring you much support from other people. Friends, network circles, they are all supporting you now because 7th house also is your closest friend. So you feel very much backed up now. Whatever challenges you are facing at this time, you are backed by loyal and helpful friends without any doubt. Situations with your siblings, neighbors, etc., close associates have been difficult and tense, but now they will ease also. Everybody in your life is conspiring to support you at this time. Make the most of this situation. More than that, Jupiter Shani conjuncting in the 7th house of your chart will show for many of you a significant new relationship, start of a very important partnership coming into your life, maybe starting now but not soon after this time. For the next 20 years of your life, a significant relationship is going to be the major factor, something which is coming from past life because Jupiter is your 9th house lord, past life karmas. So it's a very karmic and dramatic situation in your relationship. Some of you leave a relationship behind, make a final decision now, tie up all of the legalities at this time. Some of you find a new potential partner, and some of you realize what it is you really want in a relationship. There's a consolidation of a long period of doubt. For Leo Moon, Leo Lagna, Jupiter and Shani conjuncting now in the 6th house of your chart is a very important moment. You see, Jupiter is your 5th lord, bringing you back past life good fortune, but also your 8th lord. He brings unexpected situations and he can lead to financial loss even sometimes. Now, Jupiter in the 6th house shows that long-standing debts, particularly because he is aspecting 12th house of loss, are going to have to be sorted now. You are finally in the next 8 weeks going to have to face head-on debts, litigation, court cases, outstanding things which have been left for so long will now be finally sorted, and they will be sorted in your favor because Jupiter gives you past life good fortune. He brings you help in this regard. So some of you may need to completely write off certain debts. You may need to have loss to have future gain, but it takes a weight off your shoulder now. Cut your losses, Leo. It's worthwhile to finally do this now. It's also worthwhile because Jupiter's 5th aspect on the 10th house will open up amazing opportunities for gain for you. Also aspecting 9th aspect on the 2nd house. You will find a new job opportunity, new opening in your current career, which will be very satisfactory to you. It means a certain amount of loss. Some of you may find a new job which is paying you less, but still has great future potential to you. So it's a cut your losses time for all Leo Moon and Leo Lagna. It's also a time of very important health decisions. Shani has been in your 6th house now for a while. You've been getting more serious about your health in the last year or so than you've ever been. Really taking care of yourself, making important changes. Jupiter coming here will consolidate this. Any long-standing health issue will get immediate attention because Jupiter is aspecting 12th house of hospitals. So if you need hospital treatment, now is the time to take that. It's going to work out well. But the inner meaning of this Jupiter conjunction to Shani here in your 6th house of your chart, as I've said, showing a new way forward for the next 20 years of your life, means that you really have to put behind enmity, quarrels and discord that has been going on for some time. You have to sort out long-standing debts and all sorts of court cases that have not been resolved, because you cannot move forward to your future with these around your shoulder. What's going to happen is your future involves a new career, a new situation where you are doing service to others, and it's going to be more favorable than you could imagine. Here's a clue though, many of you go into foreign lands for this. Jupiter and Shani aspecting 12th house, so it's a cut your losses of the past. Don't carry on old quarrels at this time. Let these old enmities go now. Forgive, forget and move on, Leo, because really your future and your career is in a whole new different place. The aspect to the 10th house shows that you can actually please superiors now. They will look on you with enormous favor. They will give you opportunities galore if you just let past tensions go. And also, of course, Jupiter's aspect to the 2nd house shows that you will finally consolidate financial gains now. You will actually find that even though you have to pay off a lot of debt, even though there is contention, quarrel, difficulty, you will make this work for you. Virgo, Moon and Lagna, Jupiter coming back finally into the 5th house of your chart is so important. First of all, for students, you will finally have changed your course now. You will finally be on the right educational track. Even if it seems difficult, hard work, do not leave the course. Jupiter now aspecting the 9th house and 1st house shows that you are doing what you are meant to do, studying what you are meant to study. Saturn makes it hard going because he's still here, 5th house. Nonetheless, do not make a move when you are on such a prosperous future for yourself, because Jupiter is aspecting the 11th house of gain. So for all students, educational decisions, new courses started now will have tremendous impact on your life, even for the next 20 years. It's the right place for you, no doubt. For many of you seeking children or starting a family, there's been a lot of delay, frustration happening because Shani has been 5th house for some time now. Jupiter coming back into this house shows a final opportunity to start that family, to heal wounds that have been there with your children. Difficulties with older children, maybe. All of those wounds will be healed now. It's very favorable indeed. Now, Jupiter coming together with Shani will also benefit your health. You see, Jupiter is your 7th house lord. He brings good consultants, other people who give you good advice. Aspecting the 11th house, he will actually help you to use these associations to your advantage. So what advice you get about your health at this time, it's the right advice. Take it and you will improve health no end. Because Jupiter rules your spouse, partner, business partner, close friends, many serious discussions with these people happen in the next 8 weeks. Sometimes you feel like you're at a disadvantage, but you're not. You must go along with what other people suggest at this time, because long term it has great profit and benefit for yourself. So don't forget, other people's lead is good for you during this period. Finally, Jupiter Saturn in the 5th house of your chart shows for many of you that the future is about your creative potential. If you are in any artistic performance career, wow, the next 20 years it's going to take off to the most utmost success for you. Jupiter Saturn here aspecting the 11th house of gain will give you tremendous profit and success in all artistic entertainment industry endeavors. Libra, Moon and Lagna, Jupiter is always tricky for you because he rules the 3rd house of quarrels, contentions and all sorts of ego problems, and of course the 6th house of litigation and court cases. So he always provides you with some sort of hassle in your life, basically. Now he's gone to conjunct Shani finally in the 4th house. You are going to have to make the final decision about your home situation. I've been saying for so long, particularly from your moon, by the way. This is a Saturn dire situation. So you've been having a lot of family problems. Family problems have gone through the roof in the last 2 years, actually. And your situation, your domestic situation, has had a great deal of transformation. But it's been hard work, and it's still not working properly, is it? No matter what you've done, the domestic situation is a bit chaotic. So for both Libra moon and Ascendant, when Jupiter goes to conjunct with Shani, finally you will say what you want. You will finally let your wishes be known. If you have to clear debt, and there will be a lot of debt to clear, you will do so at this time. If you have to make a final decision to sell a property, you will do it at this time. If you have to face difficulties with family members, you don't like confrontation, you don't like quarrels, you will have those important conversations in the next 8 weeks, and it will clear the air tremendously. So the next 20 years of your life mean for many of you relocation, a new home base, a new family situation, and therefore a new career, because Jupiter and Shani are aspecting the 10th house of your status and career in life. A change is coming, and it's a big change in which you actually prioritize family life over career. You're a very snazzy business person. You're a great entrepreneur, but you're going to go into a whole new line in the next decade, and it starts now. You make a decision about where you work, maybe working from home. Many of you becomes a permanent thing, or you change your domestic situation in which a whole new career opens because of relocation. What matters to Librans now is your family life and the harmony of your home life, domestic life. Many of you will make a foreign travel, which will actually lead to location, because Jupiter's aspect to the 12th house means that you want a quieter, more secure family life, and you will actually, some of you, relocate into foreign lands, and you'll be making those decisions now without doubt. And of course, Jupiter aspects the 8th house. It's all to do with spousal finances, business ventures, which are very prosperous for you now. So whereas you've been feeling constrained, as though you have limited resources, Jupiter will open up career opportunities and a real sense of partners working with you, not against you. For Scorpio, Moon and Lagna, this is quite an exciting time for you, actually. It's going to be a bit confrontational, but it's going to be exciting. Jupiter going back into your 3rd house, where Shani is going to push you into the new situation you've been seeking. Particularly those of you in self-employment, it's going to be essential that you sort things out at this time. There are chances of a new business partnership, a new business situation being created. Many of you dealing with foreign lands in this business will be very, very lucrative. You see, Jupiter's 9th aspect on the 11th house shows that decisions you make now in regard to self-employment business will have long-term success for you over the next years, most definitely. Those of you who are students, because Jupiter rules your 5th house and also is aspecting the 9th house of higher education, this is a superb time. You are on the right course. You are going to love this new educational opportunity. Education goes well for you during the next years. It takes you to the highest earning potential possible. It's enormously successful for you. So now you lose all your doubts, all your fears about this educational endeavor. It's the right place for you. It's the right course for you. Just go ahead. It's going to be enormously successful. Next 8 weeks open up tremendous relationship opportunities for Scorpio. Jupiter aspecting the 7th house of spouse, as well as the 11th house of network circles. Through your network circles, through your business associates, some of you, you will meet a potential spouse. So those of you seeking marriage, it's a very favorable 8 weeks. It's not an easy 8 weeks for anybody, as I've said. Many difficult aspects occurring in the sign of Virgo, your 11th house. But for you, all of these difficulties, all of these challenges do nothing but open up doors for you, because Virgo is a house of opportunity, 11th house for yourself. Some of you also make a final decision about foreign travel, foreign relocation, because Jupiter and Saturn aspect the 9th house. If you make that decision now, it is the right decision. Have no fear. And also, if you've had difficulties with siblings, father, they are going to come to an absolute head now. They're going to be resolved in a way that you couldn't have thought possible. So be open to compromise, and all difficulties with siblings and father, if you have them, will be resolved. The most favorable factor about this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, though, is your earnings and your income. Long term now, whatever you are doing, whether it's educational, business, new enterprise, new job, it's going to have long-term potential for you of extreme growth in income. Over the next decade or two, your income will increase beyond what you could have not imagined. So this Jupiter Saturn conjunction in the 3rd house of your chart is skilling you with the right skills, putting you with the right education and the right contacts to form a very profitable life for yourself. So step out into the unknown, Scorpio. You are going to benefit long term without doubt. Sagittarius, Moon and Lagna, Jupiter is your Lord, and going back into the 2nd house of your chart now, from your 3rd house, he's finally going to give you the openings you've wanted to solve really difficult financial situations. You may have had job loss. You may have had loss of status. You may have had real difficulty consolidating family finance. Jupiter's going back into Capricorn is going to sort it all out for you because he is your Lord. How's it going to happen? Because you finally sort out court cases, litigations, and your debt. You finally leave these difficulties behind. It's like a whole pile of baggage is taken from your shoulders in the next 8 weeks. Jupiter and Shani aspecting the 8th house shows that if you are in business, it's make or break. It's time to leave the past behind. It's going to be an uncomfortable decision business-wise. Business partnerships may be broken completely and new partnerships formed, but long-term success and status will come from these decisions. Many of you will have important family finances to sort out this time. There may be loss involved because Saturn is actually aspecting 8th house of wills and all of these investments long term, etc. So wills, legacies, family finance, savings, pensions, investments, they've all been not working for you, but finally you will make the right decision. You will get the right advice. Jupiter coming back into this house makes you unafraid now to cut your losses and move forward. You will stabilize financial situation in a wonderful way during the next 8 weeks. But the best news of all for all of you in your career is that Jupiter is your Lord, and having this final aspect on the 10th house of your chart, the opportunities are there now. You've wanted to make a move. You wanted to start something new. The opportunity will open for you. In this next 8-week period, do not be afraid to walk through the door into a new career. Do not be afraid to leave the past behind, because when the 8th house is involved, with the 10th house, you always have to cut your losses before you start something favorable. So Jupiter will bring you in touch with favorable superiors who will look at you with favor and honor you with progress in your career. So it's a very opportune moment for you, Sagittarius, to do the daring thing financially. Cut your losses. Take the door to the future in your career. Of course, Jupiter represents education and investment in education. So if any of you over the next years, beginning now, should take any course of education, it will help your career enormously and give you an edge over competitors. Invest in it now. It's an extremely wise investment. Capricorn Lagna, when Jupiter is going back into your 1st house, having been in your 2nd house for some time, he's the Lord of your 12th and 3rd house. He can be a bit of a tricky planet for you, but this time when he goes to finally conjunct with your Lord Shani in the 1st house, this is the beginning of a whole new phase in your life. You will finally cut the ties to the past. You will finally make a very important relationship decision. Some of you will have to leave a relationship. Some of you will commit to a new relationship. Some of you will start a family at this time. Jupiter aspects 5th house, and many of you will start a new educational course that will be extremely beneficial. In fact, with Saturn and Jupiter in your sign with this grand conjunction, as I've just explained on the video, being the beginning of a whole new phase of your existence, this is really favorable for you. Whatever you begin now, whatever you commit to, whatever you take up the reins of now, will be successful long term. That is definite, especially business situations, family situations, and education. You've got to commit then wholeheartedly to this new direction in your life, which may involve much foreign travel, because Jupiter aspects by his important 9th aspect, the 9th house of foreign lands, and he is your 12th house lord, foreign residence. Some of you may spend a lot of time abroad in the next 20 years. A lot of your time will be spent dealing with foreigners and situations at a long distance. But most importantly, Jupiter Saturn gives you your correct place in life. You will take up a role for which you were born to do. It's a very much destiny-making situation. Some of you may even think of retiring completely, because Jupiter rules your 12th house, which is all about getting away from the general run of life. So you make a decision, whatever it is, to put yourself in a new position, and it all begins in this autumn. And it's very much going to depend on the agreement of business partners and spouse, and Jupiter will help you to get that. You will have a much more easier time relating to your spouse in the next 8 weeks. Yes, there are so many pressures in your life, but nonetheless you will be able to resolve long-standing issues. So make the most of this new beginning. Jupiter Saturn shows a new beginning for you now. Much more responsibility, much more weight on your shoulders. But Capricorn, that's what you enjoy most. Go for this now. It's a whole new beginning. So it doesn't matter what it is in your personal life. According to Mahadasha, so many different factors, you are beginning something new. You are starting a new way of life, and it is destined and meant to be extremely successful for you. Aquarius, Moon and Lagna. Jupiter's a tricky planet for you sometimes, but he's given you a lot of help being in your first house, either Moon or Ascendant. He's fulfilled some of your wishes. He's helped you to sort out relationship issues, even get married, some of you, with his aspect to your 7th house. He's helped you to find a situation where you feel that you know what you want in life, but all of a sudden doubt comes into your mind because Jupiter goes back into the 12th house. There's no need for this, because Jupiter going into connection to your Lord Shani again in the 12th house will show you the information you've needed to make a final decision, particularly about domestic situation. You've known for a long time there has to be a dramatic change. The information you need, which you find in the next 8 weeks, will open the doors for moving home, many of you, even relocating to a distant land. Something will change. Some new opportunity makes you certain that you can take this move now. There is no holding back. Jupiter, of course, is also about your hopes. It's your 11th house lord. Also, he increases income. When he goes into the 12th house, he's going to cause expenses again to proliferate in your life. Debts, expenses, health issues, all these unexpected factors will occur when Jupiter goes back into the 12th house, but they need to be sorted, and you will be able to do that actually with a great deal of determination this time. You've put them off for so long, and your financial situation will improve once you cut these losses out of your life. But the most important thing is this: Jupiter has a 9th aspect on the 8th house of your chart. Conversations with your spouse, maybe travel with your spouse to a distant and quiet place, will be very fruitful. You will sort out very difficult situations with your in-laws. There's been so much tension. Family tension will be resolved in these next 8 weeks, only because you are prepared now to compromise over so many issues. Jupiter Saturn 12th house is about finding your true inner purpose in life and a spiritual direction. A real spiritual fulfillment comes to you in the next years. This means for many of you leaving behind old friendship networks. Jupiter rules all of your friendship networks. Nothing is more important to Aquarians than your friendships and your network circles. But Jupiter's final conjunction now with your Lord Shani will consolidate your ideas of who you want to be within life, what sort of people you want to surround yourself with. You'll be thinking, many of you, by the way, about even working in a large institution. 12th house shows large organizations like schools, prisons, hospitals, etc. You may find a job in those in the next decade or so, which will completely transform your life. A life of service where you are with people who have high ideals. This is what means so much to you. So for Pisces, Moon and Lagna, Jupiter, your Lord, going into the 11th house is so important. This final conjunction of Jupiter and Shani will set the way for a new future for yourself, particularly from your Moon. This is very crucial. From your Moon, Shani transit in the 11th house, check my video on Shani favorable transits, is opening up for you opportunity for lucrative income beyond your wildest dreams. And Jupiter coming into connection with Shani is showing you what you must do to further that. Some of you, it will be educational course. Some of you, it will be new career, stepping out into a new arena. But you have to do something new. You have to commit to a new area to find this lucrative stream, and it starts right now. So you will see the signs that show you what you have to do, I promise you, in the next 8 weeks. Now for everybody, Moon and Ascendant, Jupiter conjuncting Saturn in this house also promotes friendships. It opens you up to a new network circle. In the next 8 weeks, there'll be more people in your life, and they will continue in your life for a long time. Some of them will become a very special friend, a close friend, or even partnership. So a soulmate situation is likely to develop for you. You see, Jupiter brings you in touch with those who are good for you for your highest good. And Saturn in the 11th house shows you worthy friends. Now, this means that some of the friendships, some of the network circles have to be broken. You know what I mean by this. You've been thinking about it for the last year or so. Jupiter will confirm that you need to put behind certain associations now. They're not in line with who you are. They're not good for your future. From this house, Jupiter aspects the 3rd house, putting you in long touch with your siblings. There's been some lack of conversation with your siblings, some disturbance, some lack of connection. Jupiter promotes healing, tells you what's wrong, shows you solution to these issues. Jupiter aspect to the 5th house, finally, you can make decision about starting family. Finally, for so many of you, pregnancies will be there. Children in your life will be coming into your life, and situations that have been difficult with your children, particularly older children, by the way, because Saturn aspecting indicates sometimes older children having issues, they will be resolved. So you will have a better communication with your children at this time. But don't forget, everyone, great play of planets. Mars, Sun and Mercury retrograde are in the 7th house of your chart. The biggest factor is your partner. Don't forget, despite the challenges of your 7th house transits at this time with Mars, the Sun and Mercury there, a great deal of contention in partnerships and business, Jupiter will resolve it ultimately for you. Jupiter's aspect, particularly when Jupiter goes direct again after the 19th of October, watch out for that date. Mercury also going direct, of course, 7th house Lord, you will solve relationship problems. Some of you will say you do want a relationship that you didn't before. You will sort out serious differences. So potential new relationships and ongoing relationships difficulties are resolved after the 19th of October. The most important factor about the Jupiter-Shani conjunction, though, for Pisces is that you are going to start a new direction in your life in terms of worthy contribution to society. It's going to continue for many years from now onwards, and it's something that will give you enormous satisfaction. And to do this, you need the full support of your partner, of your significant other, and you will have that. Many of you will actually find even a special friend, helpmate, or even soulmate relationship during the next years, because Jupiter Saturn brings to you those that have your best wishes at heart. So you won't be traveling down a lonely road so much anymore, Pisces. Push out the boat. Find agreement with those you disagree with. Giving of yourself to society, because 11th house is about society at large. Giving service to society. Bringing yourself into contact with people with high ideals and a very special connection also. It's a promising future. Check out Mars transit in Virgo right now on your screen to understand the other important planetary indications at this time. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to sub below. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.